Welcome to the Pennridge School Board meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Banas-Clemens?
Here.
Mrs. Cullen?
Here.
Mrs. Dolan?
Here.
Ms. Kildare?
Here.
Mr. Kraus?
Here.
Mr. Rice?
Here.
Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mrs. Walters?
Here.
Dr. Yarnell?
Here. I would just like to clarify for those of you who may not have heard them, Dr. Yarnell is participating by phone this evening, and so I have him here. He did say here, and so if he has anything in terms of comments, he'll just be texting me, and then I'll be translating.
Okay, first we have public comment. The Pennridge School Board welcomes public comment. According to Policy 903, we remind everyone of the following. Public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified by the board. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and note their name and municipality. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer rather than to individual board members, district employees, or members of the public. A speaker may speak once during each comment period. Please note that these sessions are designated for comments to protect the confidentiality and privacy rights of all members of our community. The board encourages members of the public to direct any comments regarding particular individuals, such as students or district employees, privately to the superintendent or other appropriate administrators or board members, or to communicate with the board and superintendent privately by sending an email to psdschoolboard@pennridge.org. Questions raised and not addressed may be followed up at a later time. Are there any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on. Okay, next is the President's report. There's been some misinformation that's been circulating in the public, and so in an effort to correct the record, I'm going to share the history surrounding this topic. There's been some misinformation shared suggesting that the board is considering closing a specific elementary school. In 2016, Dr. Radigan cited declining enrollment and asked the board to put out an RFP for a building utilization study. The RFP passed 8-1. Breslin was recommended to conduct the study at a cost of $26,000 plus $1,000 in maximum reimbursements. The original motion to approve the study failed 4-1 and was put on the agenda for a second board meeting, where it passed 8-1. In the interest of full transparency, I was the dissenting vote at all of these meetings because I did not support making decisions based on predictions, and I did not feel the study was giving us anything we couldn't figure out on our own without spending $26,000 to $27,000. It was based on transportation and personnel costs that we supplied. The building utilization study was presented to the board with 3 main choices: decreasing class sizes, adding full-day kindergarten, or closing schools. The enrollment was projected to decrease by about 400 students by the 2022-2023 school year. For the first option, decreasing enrollment would be an average of about 4 students per class and would require no changes. The second option was full-day kindergarten, and that option took into account the need for twice as many kindergarten classrooms to account for AM and PM at once, as well as a 20% increase in enrollment to match the first grade numbers, given that parents of students who use outside full-day programs would likely send their kids to Pennridge. This would have required renovating our learning support classrooms, essentially building a wall to cut the classrooms in half. The argument was these classrooms would only have 10 to 15 kids, so they don't need a full-size classroom, but the enrollment drop option predicted some class sizes with 19 students. Therefore, a potential of 4 students of a 4-student difference was presented as a reason to cut classrooms in half for special needs students, which is a population we have seen steadily increasing. Keep in mind, learning support classes had already been moved to smaller classrooms at the middle school level to make room for STEM. In addition to renovating learning support classrooms to half-sized rooms, And again, there may be some situations where where we have small groups that it makes sense to do those small groups in a smaller room, but this wasn't taking into account specific numbers and specific children. This was a philosophical decision without the data of how many kids would be in each class and what the needs of those children were. In addition to renovating learning support classrooms to half-sized rooms, we would also need to build an addition on Diebler to be able to offer full-day kindergarten. The total cost was projected to be $5.75 million. The option to close a school was presented in 3 ways. Closing an elementary school in the 2022-2023 school year, closing a middle school in the 2025-26 school year, or closing a middle school in an expedited process that would entail building an addition on a middle school and closing a different middle school before knowing if those numbers would ever come to fruition. The expedited option would have needed to be acted on by now, so we're obviously too late for that option. Closing a middle school is based on predictions for 2025-26. Even the study suggests no decisions for that far out could be made with this study because the information would be too outdated. Focusing on closing an elementary school in 2022, this study predates several board decisions. The board voted to add a STEM special to the elementary schools. The Bucks County Intermediate Unit is also utilizing 2 classrooms for pre-K counts that are funded through the Bucks County Intermediate Unit. That takes away 9 classrooms, which based on the class sizes used in the study would be 25 to 30 kids per classroom, which is 225 to 270 kids. So about 250 kids would be eliminated from the 400 increase. When you look at the fact that they're projecting a decrease of 400 kids, and you subtract the 9 classrooms that would no longer be available, you would actually be taking away 250 kids. So you'd be looking at a decrease of enrollment of 150 kids. If you look at the projections compared to our actual enrollment numbers, our enrollment is higher than what was projected and could continue to be higher than predicted. That really leaves us with an average drop in class sizes by about 1 student per class. So to sum it up, we could not close a school unless we dropped STEM at the elementary level, did not allow the BCIU to offer pre-K counts in our buildings at their cost, and with current numbers being higher than what was being projected. So when you take away those 9 classrooms, you really can't do it unless you cut something else. It just isn't feasible. So when you're looking at that projection, it doesn't work. This study was done in 2006. Many of these board members were not even here at the time, and this board has had no discussions about closing any schools, nor has the administration brought any recommendations to us about closing any schools. And based on the numbers, the board would have to completely undo current decisions to make that happen. As far as a full-day kindergarten, we would need to renovate learning support classrooms, cutting them in half for special needs students, build an addition on an elementary school, and either eliminate STEM and the pre-K counts classrooms, or do more significant additions on all elementary schools to be able to offer full-day kindergarten. So these options have not been discussed, and that pretty much gives you the status of what would need to happen to be able to accomplish any of those options. So by adding STEM and the other classes, our enrollment will still drop by about 1 student. But you can't, obviously, there were 3 different options and they don't work together. So the second thing that I wanted to highlight, we've been working on our budget. So if you're looking at the first slide, it shows how our debt service is going to be dropping, which was the inspiration for our 6-year capital projects plan. So if you look at this, when you're talking about stackable debt, so that the debt stays the same every year and you can plan for it, the pattern is, if you have to accrue more debt, is to accrue it in that stackable pattern. So if you look at where our debt is going to start dropping off, then you would extend the debt on top of the next stack, which means that you would have to pay interest on interest for those first several years until you start making payments on it, so that you can stack the debt out past the debt that was there. And that, is what we're trying to prevent with our 6-year capital projects plan. So then we would not be stacking any additional debt. If you look at the last time, the bigger stacks here are mostly from our $10 million, or the last $10 million bond that was issued. And because that was stackable from before, it actually ended up accruing $2.2 million in interest just in the first 7 years because of having to carry over that interest to make it stackable. But it's something that, when districts are accruing debt, that has to be done to be able to keep it balanced. So it just kind of highlights how great the 6-year capital projects plan is, and how we're going to be able to fund things as we go. And when that debt starts to drop off in 6 years, we won't have to be accruing that. We won't be paying this interest up front until you get to that point. So it was just something that was in the slide at our finance committee meeting that I thought would be interesting to the public to highlight, because it's something I think that we're all really proud of going forward. If you look at the next slide, this is another thing that really shows how much more supports are being put into the classroom. So I just wanted to highlight this because it's another thing that's a great priority. If you look at the right-hand column, you're looking at what was previously projected for positions. And if you look at the left-hand side, it shows you what we're doing now. And so the director of administration is being converted to assistant superintendent. The director of curriculum instruction and assessment is also being converted to an assistant superintendent. 6 curriculum supervisors was being transferred into 4 curriculum supervisors and 3 instructional coaches to push into classrooms and provide supports to teachers. The STEM Spanish specials were converted to STEM gifted teachers, and also lunchroom and playground aides 14 lunchroom and playground aides and 2.6 additional teachers to make the STEM gifted teachers. And by doing that, it allows more collaboration time for teachers and push-in time for teachers to work to meet the needs of individual students and be able to plan with collaboration with their team partners. And then if you look at the last one, the projection was originally to have a school resource officer in the 18-19 budget, and that was converted over to a school police officer, director of security, another school police officer, and a part-time security guard. And when you look at this as a whole, even though we're providing all of these additional supports to the classroom, you're actually saving $70,000 as well. And the next slide is the additional positions that are being added due to enrollment. So when you look at the first one, we're adding a guidance counselor to the middle school due to the number of students at that level. And we also had the intermediate unit came in last year, and they actually reviewed all of our guidance department and made recommendations, and that was one of the recommendations that they made, was to make sure that we had those supports for our students. And we also hired 2 crisis counselors and also hired an additional agency that can send in additional crisis counselors when there's a need for it. That part was done last year along with a social worker. And the next one is an extra teaching assistant at the high school for life skills enrollment, a half of a speech therapist, so a half-time position. And the last one is a CAP room aide, and the purpose behind that is to help support our cyber program that has been expanding and doing really well. So it's definitely something that I think the district is trying to highlight, how great our cyber program is, and when you look at how successful our students are doing in that cyber program compared to the outside cyber programs, it really is no comparison. So I think that that's something that, as it expands, we definitely need more support. So some great things that we wanted to highlight there for you. And next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ms. Vance Clemens. In recognition of it being April 15th, I promise that there will be absolutely nothing too taxing about my report tonight.
Already hard.
All right, it's the best dad joke I have. First, I want to introduce Miss Kaylee Cooper. She was officially appointed at our last meeting, but she was not able to attend, and she is able to attend tonight. So Kaylee is our new Public Relations and Communications Coordinator. She holds a bachelor's degree from Temple University and most recently has held positions both in advertising and marketing before coming back to Pennridge. I say coming back because most importantly, Kaylee is a Pennridge graduate. Today is her 4th whole day of work, and I can tell you that I'm already impressed by both her initiative and her professionalism. Will you please welcome Kaylee back to Pennridge? You'll notice that one of the things she's going to try to do is snazz up my superintendent's report by adding pictures so that you can look at something while I'm talking through it. So we'll see how it goes because I have no idea what's on the screen right now. So we'll see. I do want to first recognize 52 high school students and staff. If you remember, I've done this each marking period. They've had a RAMS award where each department picks a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, and 12th grader to recognize both for their academic achievement and their character. And so we had 52 students and 1 staff member who were selected in a nice breakfast where the parents come and recognize those students. I want to also have a huge bravo to the cast and crew of the Pennridge High School and Stars production of Cinderella. It was seen by more than 4,000 Pennridge community members. About half of them were in little princess dresses. It was adorable. And I just want to say congratulations and thank you to the 80 students in the cast and the crew. Next, I want to highlight what's so cool about manufacturing. I hope you've seen this on some of the news reports. All 3 of our middle schools were recognized recently during a regional competition for a manufacturing video they created. So basically, a team from each middle school had support both at the building level and at the administrative level, and they worked with a local engineering company. Beginning in October, they would go out multiple times a month, work at the location as well as here in school to make videos about the corporation in some creative way. So the team at North Middle School worked with Penn Engineering. The team from South Middle School worked with Daria Metal Fabricators, and they won the Most Outstanding Coal Award. Central Middle School worked with Secant Medical and won both the Outstanding Outreach Plan Award as well as the Viewer's Choice Award, which is assigned according to the votes online. So thank you for all of those of you who lived in Chicago and voted multiple times. We appreciate that. Because of that, Central also qualified for the state competition, so they will represent Pennridge in the state competition out in Hershey in May. I want to say a huge thank you to Mr. James Connolly from North, Miss Jennifer Britton from South, both Mr. Ryan Ruckle and Mr. Stephen Smith from Central. They were the teachers who supported the teams, as well as at the administrative level, Ms. Erin Reichert, who's our technology integrator, as well as Dr. Kathy Schott. So thank you for all of those people for your work with those students. Next, I want to highlight the Unified Track Meet that was held this past Friday, April 12th. Unified Sports is a new program here in Pennridge. It is a PIAA sanctioned sport that is a fully inclusive co-ed high school sport team that brings together both students with and without disabilities for track competition. Pennridge hosted our only home meet on this past rainy Friday afternoon, and they were joined by students from Central Bucks West as well as Palisades High School. It was an amazing success. I hope the pictures are showing the parents, the teacher volunteers, and many of the high school students who came out to cheer the student athletes on, regardless of the weather. So many were involved, but there are a couple special thank yous to the people who really, there were 4 individuals who really brought this idea to Pennridge and worked extra hard to make this happen. And that is Miss Angela James, Miss Christine Fennell, Mr. Scott Ware, and Mr. Pete Valamont. And so I thank them for their hard work and organization, because without them it would not have been possible. Mr. Pennridge was crowned last week, both in 11th and 12th grade. For those of you who don't know, this is a biannual competition for charity. Sponsored by Student Council, this past year they raised over $3,500 and immediately donated it to the Life Skills program here at the high school. Congratulations to the junior class, Mr. Pennridge, Jimmy Mamerol, who in one of the most touching moments of the evening immediately gave back his prize money to the Life Skills classroom, as well as the senior class, Mr. Pennridge, Mr. Brian Lafty. Congratulations to the Pennridge Technology Student Association, or TSA, chapter, who recently competed last week in the 2019 state championships. We will formally recognize them in May, but I just wanted to make you aware of it. since you'll be seeing some of the communication. I want to thank Mr. Hank Ward and congratulate the 14 students. This is the first time in Pennridge history that all of our students at the state competition received some level of award. So I think there are 12 different competitions. We had students who placed in 9 of those 12. Multiple students are in teams and placed in multiple categories. A special congratulations to Chris McKinney and Vishal Taylor, who will represent Pennridge at the state of Pennsylvania in structural engineering, and they now will attend the national conference in Washington, D.C. So we'll get more details about that when they're here, and we can recognize them in person in May. Next, I'd like a presentation. One of the most important things we do each day is to care for our students and staff. And the men and the women who are one of the primary peoples in that equation are our guidance counselors. And so I asked Dr. Sherry Wyerka, who's our Director of Pupil Services, as well as Mr. Eric Toomey, who is a middle school counselor and also the district counseling coordinator, to just come and provide a brief overview of the various services our counselors provide at each level. So I want to thank you for being willing to present, Dr. Wyerka and Mr. Toomey. We'll hand it over to you. Board members, this is also a presentation you have that was downloaded if you want to follow.
Okay, does everybody have the presentation? I'm going to give you time to get that open. Okay, thank you, Dr. Bolton. Mr. Toomey and I are so excited to talk about all of the supports that our guidance counselors and other programs that we have here at Pennridge support our students. They work so hard every day. I'm so impressed and so proud of the work that they do with our students. So this is a little bit of information about the day in the life of a Pennridge school guidance counselor. So we are currently working on our K-12 counseling plan that we will be coming to present to you in June. And this is our new mission statement for the counseling office that was developed by the team that's working on the K-12 counseling plan. So it mirrors our district mission to provide a comprehensive student-centered experience that supports the academic, career education awareness, and social emotional development of our students. So we're very proud of our new mission statement. The next slide gives you an overview of what we provide at all of the levels, elementary, middle school, high school. So we have guidance counselors in every school building. We also have 2 behavior specialists from the VCIU that support our students in all of our schools, and you'll see that listed there. We also now have 2 social workers that support our students in elementary, middle, and high school. And then additionally, we contract with Lakeside to provide crisis counselors and emotional support counselors, mostly in our middle school and high school, but we do see them also going down into elementary school when we have those supports needed at the elementary school level. Then you'll also see at the high school, we have the Family Foundation Partnership, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And in addition, our student assistance program that now covers all of our schools. We added that to elementary this year. That's offered through the Council of Southeast PA. We have a counselor that comes in and works in all of our school buildings to do assessments, works one-to-one with students, and also offers groups. And then we also have our school-wide social emotional learning, which is K-12 across all schools. It utilizes our Pennridge Takes Pride theme, and part of that is our elementary SEL curriculum. This next slide shows you, in addition to all of the work that our counselors do, which Mr. Toomey is going to get a little more in detail about that, but these are all the other resources that we bring in to support our students, and they really work hand in hand with our guidance counselors because nobody can do this alone. There are so many needs that our students have. So as I mentioned, we have our student assistance program. We have the NOVA Encourage, which is an upstander peer education program. This is where our high school students go down into the middle school and elementary school buildings, and they really act as mentors, and they talk about bullying prevention in the elementary school and the middle school. We have our Pennridge PALS program, which is a high school club, and this club pairs our students with special needs along with peers in the high school, and they're able to form friendships go on social outings, and have that connection. We bring in from time to time special programs, like we just had our Rachel's Challenge, and now we'll have the Rachel's Challenge clubs that are ongoing. We also have our Link Crew, which is a year-long transition program for our 9th grade students at the high school. So this is really to form those connections with upperclassmen in the high school and help our 9th graders throughout the whole year of 9th grade adjust to being in high school. And then finally in the high school we have our Family Foundation partnership, and this is a program that helps our students stay in school, those students that are really struggling. This program provides intensive mental health support to our students, provides family support, helps the families access community resources, and they do a lot of mentoring one-to-one with our students. There are some additional resources that you can find online. We have a lot of information online. There's a link there to the Pennridge Parent University, which provides a lot of the information about our anti-bullying resources and some of the programs that we offer. And I think I'm turning it over to Mr. Toomey.
Terrific, thank you. Again, thanks for having the opportunity to come speak with you this evening. Our role of a school counselor is sometimes hard to define, and really we have 3 main things that we're trying to accomplish. We're really trying to assist students with their academic achievement, their social-emotional development, and also career planning. And to do that, we got to kind of take on 4 different roles within each of our buildings. We take a role as a leader, working with administration, trying to look for areas where there can be improvements made. A big part of our job is to be an advocate for our students, allow them to have their voice be heard to what their needs are, not only their needs, but the needs maybe of their peers as well. A third role that we take on is collaborator. We really serve as a liaison for all stakeholders involved with a student, which would be their parents, teachers, administrators, business leaders, and post-secondary institutions. And then our last is a systemic change agent. We really want to find ways within the system that we can eliminate barriers so that we can provide more opportunities for students in having a chance to experience success. So really that is kind of a quick summary of our overall objective. If you go to the next slide, this is one of the challenges Dr. Wajorka gave me as far as a day in the life of a counselor. I kind of sum it up as the weather today, right? Today it started off kind of mild, and this strong breeze came in out of nowhere, right? Brought some cold weather, clouds, maybe a few raindrops. As I was waiting for the meeting tonight, there was some sunshine peek through. So it really is kind of like a capsule of what our jobs are. They're truly not the same every day. We're presented with new challenges every single day. And that's truly why we love our job as school counselors. Because those challenges provide us an opportunity to really help shape and mold our students into becoming the final product that they are aspiring to be. So I asked Dr. Wajorka on our list if we could change it to daily activities. She kept the challenge with me. She kept it up on your slide. But it's more of, I want you to think of it as a weekly thing that we kind of look to do. At the elementary level, really the counselors spend a significant amount of time within the classroom. They're working on building those foundational skills, topic areas of social thinking, conflict resolution, their interpersonal skills. They're starting with the career awareness, and they're looking at that growth mindset. So they really are critical in laying the groundwork for the next 2 levels. If you go to the next slide with the middle school, again, the middle school, right? Okay, the exploration phase. Each and every day could be different for a middle school student. They're trying on all their different hats. I can see smiles, and I know some of you have middle school students or have had, right? It really shifts from a larger classroom sense to our activities become more small groups and individual. Because as they're working on their decision-making ability, right, because they're working on that executive functioning skills, we're really trying to help them understand what is a sound decision-making model. give them some strategies so they can make effective decisions. And that's really where we spend a lot of our time, planting seeds that we may never see grow until our high school level. The high school level really does move more to that kind of finalizing, solidifying, putting the final touches on the student's development. So they spend a lot of time in an individual way. They're terrific resource centers, our high school counselors. They provide an immense amount of information related to post-secondary institutions, scholarship, career opportunities, mental health assistance. Of course, they're guiding the students in that scheduling process all the way from ninth grade until the next phase of their life. So they're invaluable as well, again, and work really hard and focus a lot on the individual. Going to the last screen, I'll kind of just leave you with one last thought. Dr. Weierke said I can only stick to the script, so I'm trying my best. One final thought, we show a spark, if you can see it. I don't know how it produces on yours. We've been working really hard, as she said, on our K-12 developmental guidance program. A lot of hours have been put in place for that. We really do hope every student will leave Pennridge kind of with a dream and a plan, so they can kind of accomplish what they're hoping to do, and a real plan and thought of doing that. We're going to come back in 2 months or 3 months, I believe, and talk about and present the plan to you guys. But I will tell you, it could be worth $5 million, which is good news, right, for the school board. But it could save our students a lot of money because we really are working really hard in that plan to help them align their interests with what their abilities are, and then looking at today's job market demands. And that's really the key. So we'll present more about that later. Of course, we're open for questions. I love questions, so if anybody has some, we'd be glad to answer if you have.
I don't have any questions, but just a comment. I'm happy to see this progression of adding more services to our guidance departments. And so I know it's a combination of a bunch of different things, but I think we're going in the right direction with it. We've definitely made a lot of improvements, so thank you for your effort.
Thanks for your support.
Mr. Toomey and Dr. Weierke, thank you so much. Would you please take the opportunity to take it back to your colleagues, Mr. Toomey, in terms of the appreciation, not just of the board, but also the community. There are so many times in a student's lives where the counselor becomes that key person when they have needed advice or when they're struggling with something. So we really do appreciate the role you play both for the students as well as the parents. And please pass that on and thank them.
I will. Thank you.
That. I want to couple that with the recommendation that was shown earlier in terms of an additional guidance counselor at the middle school level. I really am appreciative of the board being willing to consider that in next year's budget for that new position. That really will allow for less travel, which means the counselors will be doing what the counselors are being paid for and not traveling around the district from building to building. That's not insignificant, even though it sounds such in terms of the amount of time spent with kids. It'll also be allow us to lower our caseloads at the middle school level. It's a place where currently our caseloads are the highest. And so to be able to invest that way and lower the caseload at all 3 middle schools by the placement of 1 counselor, as well as allow for more group and individual supports for those students. So I do really appreciate your consideration of that and just wanted to tie those pieces together. The last thing I have is a recognition of a donation. I would like to thank Jacobs Music, who has recently donated a new Roland digital piano by Steinway & Sons, valued at approximately $1,300, to Seiler Elementary School. So I appreciate Jacobs Music for their donation. Next on the agenda is the student liaison report. So Ms. Kirsten, we'll hand it over to you.
All right, so recently at the tech school, we've had some exciting things, but I just have a few things that I have to say that is coming up. So there is a robotics competition happening May 11th from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. at Montgomery County College, Montgomery County Community College. There's 9 schools competing with custom design and manufactured battle robots. Like the TV show, they're building these robots and they're actually fighting them against other robots from different schools. As for our food, there's a Cinco de Mayo to-go orders. They're 2 meals that come with it. It's $12 per individual meals, and orders are due on April 26th. You can go to the school's website, you can go to their culinary, or they might have a special tab for it, but you can go there, place your orders, and probably on Cinco de Mayo, you're gonna have to go and pick it up. We don't have the food truck yet, but we will. That's coming, don't worry. Recently, I think they came back on Friday, there was a Skills USA at Thurston's, right after FBLA left. There was 19 people that placed first place, 14 people that placed second place, and 12 people that placed third place. And that's all that I have.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the approval of the consent calendar. I will make a motion to approve the consent calendar, items A through H.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rice. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries 9-0. And next is the activities report. Mrs. Walters?
Okay, the Activities Committee didn't meet this past month, and we meet again on Monday, April 29th.
Thank you. Curriculum, Mrs. Cullen?
Thank you. The Curriculum Committee met on April 8th. We do have a couple of items. The first one is a motion to approve the 2018-2019 summer school schedule. So I make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Questions or comments from board members? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 9-0.
Okay, and then our second item is exciting. It's our PCEF mini grant awards. Last month we told you that in addition to doing the normal fall awards, it was decided that spring awards would be offered, and we had a lot of applicants, but I'll let Dr. Scheid, I'm going to let you fill everyone in on those details.
Thank you, Mrs. Cullen, and I'm very excited. We see teachers here who are waiting to come up and receive their award. We have Mrs. Donovan here, and we thank you so much for a second opportunity for our teachers to write grants, and we had many. We had close to 30. So we reviewed those, and we have our winners, recipients tonight, so you are more than welcome to come up and,
Very good, thank you.
okay, and announce those this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you once again for giving us an opportunity to tout. I need to turn that on, right? To tout PCEF. My name is Kathy Donovan. I'm the treasurer there, so I have the checks for those winners of our mini grants. And I have to follow up on Dr. Scheid's comments regarding the number of grants that are submitted. We always feel so bad that we can't just write a check for everybody. Unfortunately, our group just doesn't have that kind of funding as yet. We keep working towards that. So we review that on a basis of a couple different things. I have to comment that once again, we get several really creative ideas from our teachers across the board, elementary, middle school, and high school. So I have the winners here. I know that you've been notified. If the individual's here, please come forward and I can present that to you. The first one is for Margaret Tannen, Learning Support at Grass. It's a scanning pen. Thank you.
If the winners would stay in the front, because then when we have the whole group, we'll take a big old picture with all the checks.
Secondly is Tiffany Bates, and Tiffany has a team of people, so you can introduce them. For the math group at Seiler, guided math stations. So Tiffany, why don't you, and if I butcher your names, please forgive me if I mispronounce anything. But Tiffany, why don't you introduce everyone?
Well, this is Denise Beddick. She's also a third grade teacher at Siler, and then Kathy Ramo. And we also have a fourth, who is Chris Donato, but she could not be here tonight. So.
Very good, thank you. Thank you. Next is Elizabeth Portuguese, elementary gifted, STEM Cubelets. So, there you go. Next, Sandra Thompson, first grade at Grass for BBOTS. BBOTS is a biggie. Sandra's right here. Jeremy Friedman, Media High School, and there's a team as well Jeremy has for Media Production Podcast.
I'll introduce you to Brea. Brea and John Carlo are two students of mine, and I'd be amiss if I didn't mention MJ, but they are really pioneering our new multimedia
Terrific.
Into podcasting and reaching a broader community and a broader viewer base. They really deserve the
And next is Jamie Vinci and Lauren Draper from North that handle a gifted program, Active Learning Options. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, Susie Scholl-Walter, and Lori Markoff, special education at West Rock Hill. Let us be healthy. Very good. And that's it. So hopefully we'll see everyone again in the fall when we are able to present another mini grant program. I would be remiss in saying that PCEF will be holding our major fundraiser this April 30th, Tuesday, at the Sellersville Theater. So hopefully we'll see everyone there. We have 3 awards going out to Friends of Education at that time. Okay, thank you.
Let's come on up, show off the checks. This is going to be Ms. Cooper's first photograph. Okay, very good. No, you need to be in the front and center. Right, I'm behind the back here. Come on over here. Right? So we have to angle a little right. So, and then I need to go like cute. I like the shirt. How was the video?
Oh, it was great. Mayor of Montana, it was great.
Mr. Friedman. I heard that was pretty embarrassing. My teenager.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations, everyone. Was it fun? I like the shirt. I have seen it. Thank you.
As far as who they are? Sure. Yeah.
Ms. Donovan, if you would pass on a huge thanks for your whole team, for their work, Ms. Cullen as well. I know that you've been very active on that committee during this year, and I appreciate that. This is a group that those 7 projects, just under $3,000, and the innovation that's going to be able to come to our students and the different types of things that our students are going to be able to experience because the teachers have a great idea and there's someone who's willing to give them the seed money to do that. So just a huge thank you to PCEF as well as to the teachers for putting in the application. So thanks again.
Okay, that's all we had for curriculum. The next curriculum meeting will be Monday, May 6th over in the district office.
We did not.
Do we have to? Oh, do we have to? I guess we have to accept
We need to
them.
approve
I'm
the
sorry.
7 gifts. Yep.
We do need to accept approve the acceptance of the mini grant awards, and it was 2,000, hold on, I'm gonna make sure that I get it exactly right. I believe it was $2,878.78.
Mrs. Cullen, would you like me to read the exact number?
Yeah, I turned it off and I can't get it to open up fast enough, yeah.
Okay, it's $2,848, and 78 cents. Thank you.
Make a motion to accept those grants.
Second.
Everybody.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Thompson. Questions or comments from board members? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, now my report is really over for curriculum. Next meeting's May 6th, sorry.
Okay, facilities, Mr. Kraus?
Thank you. The Facilities Committee met on April 9th, and we have two items for the board tonight. The first is the approval of obsolete items, so I make a motion to obsolete items as listed A through E.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mrs. Dolan. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, I keep going too fast. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, the second motion is to approve Seiler Elementary Fire Alarm Replacement Project, electrical construction, base bid of $112,500.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Rice. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I waited this time.
Good job.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Okay, the next Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for May 7th. That's the end of my report.
Okay. Next up is finance. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve contracts A through Q. Okay, seconded by Ms. Kildare. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. I will make a motion to approve the developed premiums for the fiscal year 2019-2020 as listed, which is no change from the 2018-2019 year. This is for developed premiums.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. The next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May 7th. And the next up is the IU Committee report. The IU did not meet since our last meeting. Our meeting is actually tomorrow. So I think the way it falls, I might have 2 reports for you next time. And personnel. Dr. Yarnell, do you want to take it or do you want someone else to do it?
I think Dr. Bolt's going to start the process.
Okay.
I think for the sake of ease of hearing, so I just asked Dr. Yanel if I could take that for. The Personnel Committee met on April 8th, and the notes are attached to the agenda. The majority of the meeting was regarding 4 job descriptions, and I would ask for someone to make a motion to approve the 4 job descriptions that are listed, 1 for secondary school principal, 1 for a teacher of gifted in STEM, 1 for the assistant superintendent for secondary education, and 1 for the assistant superintendent for elementary education.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Dolan, seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Questions or comments from board members? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 9-0.
The next Personnel Committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 6th.
Okay, next up is policy. Ms. Kildare?
Okay. There's a couple of policies on here. If I can, I'd like to have a motion to approve the following policies. I'm going to just read them through. There's a couple of them. Number 103.1, the non-discrimination to qualified students with disabilities. Number 222, which is tobacco, nicotine. Number 249, bullying, cyberbullying. Number 323, tobacco, nicotine again. Number 904, public attendance at school events. And number 916, volunteers. I have a motion to approve the following. Questions or comments? Second.
Okay, second, moved by Ms. Kildary, seconded by Mr. Kraus. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
And the next policy committee meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 29th.
Thank you. Okay, technology, Mr. Rice.
All right, we met on April 8th, just last Monday. We talked a lot of tech, a lot of numbers, and had a good time. I can bore you to death, but I can just point you to the video because it's a whole lot more detailed than I can sit there and bore you to death with technology. I mean, I can go around in circles. Basically, it was a great meeting. Mrs. Miller had a great presentation, gave us all the details of, hopefully if approved, it's going to move forward into the summer, and I would call it the off-season of school. Our next technology meeting will be May 6th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the Upper Bucks County Technical School, Mrs. Fuller.
The Upper Bucks County Technical School JOC did not meet since our last board meeting, and our meeting is Thursday. So, and our rep covered skills, and we have our Cinco de Mayo dinner. So that's all. And our meeting's Thursday, and everybody's welcome to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Act 48, Mrs. Walters.
We also didn't meet this past month. Our next meeting is for Thursday, May 9th.
Okay. Pennridge Area Coordinating Committee, Ms. Thompson.
The Pennridge Area Coordinating Committee met on March 28th. The next committee meeting is Thursday, April 25th.
Thank you. The Pennridge Community Educational Foundation Liaison Committee, Mrs. Cullen.
See, Kathy, I get to talk about it a second time. So, once again, the PCEF, our Community Education Foundation, is having a lovely evening on Tuesday, April 30th at the Sellersville Theater, and you can now buy tickets for it online. If you go to the Pennridge website and click on the PCEF logo, you'll be taken to the website where you can purchase tickets through PayPal if you'd like. And at that event, we're going to honor 3 Friends of Education awardees, and they are Mr. Andrew Kites from the high school, one of our technology teachers, very talented, and Mrs. Ashworth, who is the librarian at Central Middle School, and the final person is one of our bus drivers. Sorry, it just flew right out of my head.
Mrs. Huff.
Huff. What's that, Huff?
Huff.
Huff. She wrote a book for children called Outside My Bus Window, but it wasn't just the book. She wrote a book, and then she also developed some curriculum around that book, and she goes around the district and she reads the book to our school children. So it's really going to be special to honor her as a friend of education, to honor all 3 of them. And in addition to being there to honor them, you can also see performances from our high school groups, and we have quite a list of them, right, Kathy?
Yes.
The girls a cappella group, some of our instrumental groups, and also there's going to be some selections from Cinderella, I believe, being performed. So it will be a lovely evening, and I hope you'll join us. And it will benefit, as Mrs. Donovan was saying, this is something new that the foundation did, giving grants in the fall and grants in the spring. So that obviously requires extra funds. These funds, when you purchase a ticket for a lovely evening, that will go to help the foundation, and as you can see, it goes right back into our classrooms. So if you can attend, it would be appreciated. And our next meeting will be on May 4th, Saturday, at 8:30 a.m. at the Penn Community Foundation Bank.
Thank you, Mrs. Cullen. Okay, next up is old business. Does anyone have anything for old business? New business? Okay, then we are back to comments and questions from guests.
Maybe just one comment? Sure. Real fast, just one comment. Well, I was going to say, if you could speak up, it's really hard to hear what's being said. I don't know if the microphones can be turned up or when you speak, just an observation.
Thank you.
I think that's the first time anyone's ever told me that I'm not speaking loudly enough. So thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. And we will look at that. Hopefully it, we projected enough for the video. So announcements, the retiree and years of service celebration will be held on Monday, May 6th at 6:30 p.m. in the high school auditorium. The next school board meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 13th. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it?
So I just wanted to point, on that night when we have that retiree, that ceremony, then our committee meetings are pushed back. So just to, people are arranging their schedule, the committee meetings will be at a different time, not 6:30.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.